Welcome to the Money Mentors Podcast.
Your Money Mentors, Gary Mattson and Laurel Stewart this week. This podcast is for you. So if you have a retirement question you'd like us to address, reach out to us online anytime at mattsonfinancial.com. I think most of us over the years like to think mom and dad always know best, right? Or knew best, but sometimes...
Depends on the age of that person, but eventually,
yes,
I think.
Yes, we're getting into touchy territory here with Laurel and Gary. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I kid. But, we've talked about it over the years here on Money Mentors. Our parents, sometimes one of the big lessons they fail to pass on is the subject of money. It's a touchy subject for a lot of families, and that can often be a regret later in life. But, Gary, you've just written a book about this. It's coming to Amazon.com, available soon too, of course, at Mattson Financial Services. What is the story behind this book, Gary? Why did you decide to touch this subject?
So many times when we look at financial advising or even talking about money, we don't get two things out of it. One is the why and what we call the Z factor. The why is that, okay, I'm having this in my portfolio, it's stocks and bonds, but why? Mm-hmm. Why stocks and bonds? Why this particular situation? Is there something better than that? By asking the why question, we get the answers, and it says this is why we're doing what we're doing, and we have clarity maybe to finish up that with some better positions. And Z is really about what do I want? So if you look at A through the alphabet to Z, this is where I want to get to. I want to get to Z. Mm-hmm. So what do I have to do? Sometimes we have to go A, B, C, D, go through the letters in order. And other times we find ourselves going forward and maybe we get to F and all of a sudden we're back to B because of market changes and stuff like that. So how do we keep on to getting to Z in an efficient way? And I just learned out there over time that most people, or advisors especially, don't talk about the why and how to get to Z. So I've been putting this all down because of Laurel over the years in a written form. And this is how we ran our company. So people come in as advisors, they learn the why, they learn the Z, and they learn how to do that for clients. And that's been kind of our intellectual property. And we've been sharing that with other advisors at times. We've been invited to share parts of it. But we've been kind of keeping a close eye on that special sauce, if you would, or the recipe like Coca-Cola. Mm-hmm. That's our recipe. And so we decided that as we looked at this, that quite frankly, nobody can do what we do. And the reason is because of our size, our commitment, and how we manage money. So we're letting you know the formula. Here's the formula that every person should have to make their retirement successful. It's not divided down by you per se, but these are the elements that you need to have to get where you want to go.
I think that's the interesting part about it, because now if you Google financial advisor, especially in West Michigan, my goodness, how many different ones you're going to see. But what do they all do? Some specialize in just being annuities, some just life insurance, some just fee-based and only fee-based. And we are that to say, we do it all. We've tried to blend this whole philosophy together, because when you're a retiree and you're looking to get started, I cannot imagine how overwhelming that must be to know where you even get started. Not only to say, well, how much income do I need and what will I pay in taxes? You can probably get that for this year, but how do you look out into the future? What does that mean for income when it comes to Social Security? Or are you one of those individuals where Meyer just hit you with a pension buyout letter and you've got a deadline on that and you're wondering how you should take those funds and what that means for taxes? What does that mean for your income, your loved ones past you, things like that? So there's just this overwhelming situation that can really come with retirement. So we've decided to really focus on that and be different. That's just who we are and what we believe in. And we decided, you can't duplicate us because you aren't us. We love what we do. We care about the clients so immensely to say we want to be completely transparent. We want there to be this fiduciary advisor out there that not only says they care about clients and that they have the fiduciary license, but like we act in that capacity every day. And if you have questions about something that's even remotely financial related, to call us. I can't tell you how many times I've been in meetings over the past decade with my dad as his right hand, and we say he's a marriage counselor. in a lot of different ways.
He is.
Good and, I mean, not good and bad for you, but just good and bad situations that we're talking about, hard situations. And that can be from one individual being the usual driver that does all of the finances, and the other one we're just trying to bring along the way because we want them to be empowered and knowledgeable should something happen to the primary. And then there's other cases where money is a tough conversation, and we'll get back into that with this book and how money is a tool. But how do we take two people who might feel and work differently and come together and have different goals and come together to one financial plan? And so it is a really delicate balance, but we think we've got it right.
Yeah. And again, I don't think there's any duplicating it. And part of it goes back to, again, how you structured this business, Gary. I mean, you kind of lucked out, let's face it, with Laurel taking an interest in the family business, right? So there's that piece of it. But also...
Oh, thanks, Jennifer. Thank you.
It's
Right, how can I top that? and say
Dynamic
yes?
duo.
You
It definitely
can't.
has been.
But, I'm sure, Laurel, you picked up on these lessons along the way. So when you're thumbing through the book here, I'll ask both of you this because your answers might be different. Gary, what's your favorite lesson from this? And Laurel, what's your favorite lesson?
Well, by implementing this over time with our clients, what's really happened is that we have received the biggest accolade that I can think of, and that is that we have generational wealth. And that means that people from different generations within the same family are investing with us. As we went through this process, the biggest compliment I can say is that we've had people like other firms have out there and people in natural in life, that we've had people divorce. And what's happened when they get a divorce, the only one thing that they agree on, number one, is that both want to keep us as their financial advisor. And secondly, almost 90% of the time, they've asked us to divide the assets. Mm-hmm. That doesn't tell me that I'm the greatest marriage counselor around, but it does mean that they trust us and they believe in us. That's the biggest compliment I've received, and that's the one I want to hang my hat on every single day. We get awards all the time from companies we work with, and they really mean nothing to me. What really means the most is when people are having a hard time and going through the hardest things in life, that they turn to us, not only trust us, but we get them through that in the best way possible. Whether it's divorce, death, long-term care, these things are coming. It's going to happen to every single family, one way or another. None of us is getting out of this alive. Mm-hmm. And so it's the way that we can help. And I just love the factor that people trust us generation after generation, time after time. I mean, we have a family that you can go left, right, top or bottom, and we have the family members. We have aunts and uncles and grandma and grandpa and kids and cousins. And it's just a great time for us. And they get together as a family and talk about us that way too. So it's much more than a transaction. It is family to us.
Yeah, and we talk about that. We are not a transactional firm. We're a transformational one. And I think about these webs, like Dad had mentioned there, that starts with maybe a couple, and then this one in particular, their children come, and then it's actually the in-law siblings that come, and it's their parents and then their friends, and it just keeps going. And like that is the biggest win to really come away with, is the amount of referrals that we receive from our current clients, because that means they trust us, right? And not only are we doing what we say we would do, but not everything's going to go right. We're not perfect people, but when there are mistakes that happen, like that's one of our core values, is ownership and accountability, and then making it right. Right? So we can look at and say, well, this is how it happened, or this is what went wrong, and this is how we're making it right, and this is how we're changing this process or procedure or whatever this looks like, so this doesn't happen again. And I think to answer your question, Jennifer, my perspective of what I think's the biggest thing out of this book is the mindset. It's not just about my money, but how does this mindset translate to generations beyond yourself? So if you are an individual who wants to give money at the end of your life to make sure your beneficiaries are taken care of, wonderful. We can help you with that multi-generational piece. And maybe you're that other one that we've had conversations with that say, our children, they're in their 40s and 50s now, they're in their higher earning years, and they're doing great. And they know that we're here for this life together and to have these life experiences now. Our goal is not to give them anything. Yes, if there's something left, okay, but that's not our goal. Mm-hmm. But that does mean that there's a philosophy that can be handed down over generations, and that tool of money and what that can do. So education really is that core value.
That's the idea behind this book. It's called What Your Parents Never Told You About Money. It's written by Gary Mattson. It draws on more than 3 decades of helping people with these financial lessons, not just for themselves, but for their families too. And if you want to join us coming up on our next First Friday event, it's the first Friday in October. Gary, we're treating this as your book launch party. This is big time. I've been on to you for years about getting this book out. It's always been in your head. It's finally on paper, and you're going to be signing the very first copies at this event, right?
Absolutely. That's where they're going to start at, yes.
And that's given me goosebumps because it's such a labor of love that you have to write down and put it to pen and paper and share. And so he's going to be giving in a little excerpt, and we're going to do some signed copies and have fun with it too. And we're also going to focus on Medicare. So it's really going to be an awesome event coming up in October on the 4th.
And it's really about you. When I talk about you, I'm talking about you that are our client and you that are not our client. This is open for everybody. We want you to come in and enjoy. And if this is a time where you're thinking about, well, gee, I'd like to get more information about Mattson Financial Services or the team, they're all going to be here. I'm going to be here, and we're going to do this launch party. But really, it's about celebrating the information about retirement.
If you want to join us for this event, get your hands on one of those very first copies. Yes, it's going to be available on Amazon.com, but you can get yours on that first Friday in October. This is Friday, October 4th, right there at the office on 28th Street in Kentwood. RSVP, so we know you're coming, right there on the website, MattsonFinancial.com, Mattson with 2 T's, financial.com. And by the way, coming up after that first Friday, if you book your appointment after that October event, you're going to get a copy on that very first visit at Mattson Financial Services.
Want weekly lessons from your money mentors? Yes. Hit the subscribe button now and listen every weekend on Wood Radio.
The opinions expressed in this program are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual or on any specific security. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult your financial advisor prior to investing. Any past performance discussed during this program is no guarantee of future results. Fee-based financial planning and investment services are offered by Mattson Financial Services, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Insurance products and services offered through Lakeview Financial Group, LLC, Mattson Financial Services, LLC, and Lakeview Financial Group are affiliated. To find out if Mattson Financial Services is licensed in your state, please call 800-536-8907.